Late afternoon, sunlight streamed through the tall windows of St. Mary's Children's Hospital, painting golden stripes across the polished floor and faded green walls. Usually, the only sounds here were the quiet hum of medical machines, the hurried footsteps of nurses, and the soft voices of hope mixed with worry. But today, something felt different. A quiet electricity seemed to ripple through the hallways. Carrying a buzz that no one could quite name, word had spread. Elvis Presley, yes. That Elvis, the king of rock and roll, was coming. Not for photos, not for publicity. He wanted to visit quietly, out of gratitude. Years ago, his niece had spent months fighting for her life in this very hospital. Elvis never forgot the kindness shown to his family back then. The doctors and nurses were excited but a little anxious. Could a music legend really connect with children facing illness? Would his presence be too much? Yet no one could hide their anticipation. Even the sickest kids seemed brighter, more alert, whispering to each other. What does Elvis Presley look like in real life? Will he bring a guitar? Will he sing? A long black Cadillac pulled up to the entrance. Doctors and nurses found excuses to linger by the window. Elvis stepped out not in sparkling capes, but in a simple denim jacket, dark jeans, scuffed boots, and a pair of old aviator sunglasses. His walk was slower than in his younger days, but his smile was warm and a bit shy. He was accompanied by just an old friend and his manager, carrying a bouquet of sunflowers picked up from a roadside stand. "I'm not here as the king," Elvis joked gently to the security guard, just as someone who's grateful for the kindness he once received. The first stop was the pediatric cancer ward, where hope and fear wrestled every day. When Elvis entered, every head turned. Older kids gasped, wide-eyed in disbelief. Younger ones, too little to know about blue suede shoes or Graceland, saw only a kind man with a gentle smile. In the first room, he met Emily, an 11-year-old girl with freckles, her head bald from chemo, a pink scarf knotted around her neck. Emily looked up from her coloring book, blinking, and asked softly, "Are you really Elvis Presley?" Elvis chuckled gently, pulling up a chair beside her bed. "Last time I checked, honey." His voice was gentle, not the booming performer's, but quiet and kind. "How are you feeling today?" Emily smiled, shy but proud. "My grandma listens to your music all the time. She says you're her hero." Elvis squeezed her small hand. "Your grandma has great taste, but I think you're the real hero, brave enough to fight every day like this." They talked about her dog, her school, and the scariest part of hospital nights. Elvis listened, not just nodded, but really listened, his eyes always on hers, his voice low and gentle. Before leaving, he handed her a sunflower. "Hold on to this for me." "Okay, for good luck." He moved down the hall, stopping in every room, sitting down, listening to each child. Some wanted autographs, some just wanted to talk about their favorite baseball team, or about what scared them most, the needles, the long nights. He told them how he used to get so nervous before concerts that he'd nearly faint backstage, and how music helped him find his courage. Nurses watched, whispering, "He's got a real gift. He makes the kids forget their illness, even if just for a few minutes." Elvis blushed a little when he overheard, "I just figure the least I can do is help a kid feel a little less alone." He said quietly, "The world's too big to face all by yourself." By the end of the first hour, something had shifted. Laughter echoed in the hall, a rare sound here. Elvis didn't sing a single song, but the way he sat, the way he listened, brought hope. On that day, the king of rock and roll chose to be simply a man, returning the hope and warmth this place had once given him. Leaving Emily's room, Elvis and his manager walked down the hallway, the late afternoon light softening every face it touched. Children's laughter and chatter drifted from open doors, sometimes punctuated by excited cries of, "It's Elvis." But Elvis found himself drawn to the room at the very end, a quiet, almost heavy air lingered there. He paused at the doorway, hesitated for a moment, then knocked gently. The door swung open, and there sat David, an 8-year-old boy with tousled brown hair and deep, dark eyes that seemed to carry 1,000 worries. David was quietly working on a puzzle at the table, not looking up, even as Elvis entered. Elvis sat down in a small chair across from him, taking his time. He took a slow breath and smiled gently. "What are you working on there?" David glanced up. "Guarded. It's a puzzle. It's a picture of Jesus. My grandma says, when it hurts, I should look at it so I'm not scared anymore." The words hit Elvis in a way he didn't expect. He studied the half-finished puzzle, an image of Jesus embracing children, eyes full of kindness. A memory stirred his own rough childhood, loneliness, and the comfort he once found in music, in faith, when the world seemed too harsh. Elvis nodded, voice softer. "Your grandma is right. Sometimes just believing you're not alone makes you stronger than you ever thought you could be." David hesitated, then asked, "Do you know Jesus?" The question silenced the room. Elvis met the boy's gaze. In that moment, he was no longer a superstar, no longer the king of rock and roll. He was just a man, face to face with the searching heart of a child. Elvis answered gently, "I used to think I didn't, but as I got older, I realized that every time I helped someone feel less sad, every time I sang a song that made someone smile, maybe that was Jesus beside me, even if I didn't notice." David listened closely, eyes brightening. "Would you pray with me? Grandma says praying is just talking to Jesus like a friend." Elvis paused for a moment, then nodded. He closed his eyes, listening as David prayed in a small, sincere voice, "Jesus, thank you for letting me meet Mr. Elvis today. Please help him stay healthy and help a lot of sad people. Please let everyone in this hospital get better soon. Amen." Elvis opened his eyes, moved, and squeezed David's hand. "Thank you, David. I've sung to thousands, but I've never felt peace like this." A nurse in the hallway wiped away tears. The doctors grew silent. Someone whispered, "This is a real miracle. No song could ever say it better." Afterward, Elvis lingered in David's room. They talked about dreams, fears, and hope. Both realized that sometimes a simple hug and a shared word are more powerful than any song or spotlight. As evening shadows settled over the hospital corridor, a gentle warmth filled David's room. Elvis sat beside the boy, savoring a rare peace he hadn't known in years. Two lonely hearts, a child facing unimaginable loss, a legendary artist who had stood before oceans of adoring fans, yet often felt empty inside, now found quiet kinship. David spoke to Elvis about his mother, who had died in a recent accident. His voice was soft but strong, his eyes shining with pain masked by resilience. "I miss my mum so much. Every night I pray she rests in peace, and I hope someday I'll see her again." but sometimes I'm afraid I'll forget her voice. Her smile. Elvis was struck silent. In David's Gaza, he saw himself as a boy, memories of his own beloved mother. A childhood marked by loss, the ache that came at night when all the spotlight faded away. I lost my mum very young too. David, Elvis whispered, his voice rough with emotion. There were days I thought I couldn't go on, but music and people like you helped me find meaning again. I truly believe that even if your mom isn't here, her love will always surround you in every breath, every dream. David pressed his lips together, hands gripping his blanket. Grandma says, anyone who knows how to love is never truly alone. Elvis, when you sing on those big stages, do you ever feel lonely? Elvis gave a bittersweet smile, his eyes distant. More times than you'd think. Sometimes I sing for tens of thousands, but still feel empty. But when I see the smiles, the shining eyes of people like you, I remember I'm truly loved. Music connects me to the world. But moments like this, that's real magic. They sat together in silence, letting the sunset paint their faces with soft golden light. In that instant, two souls, one young, one old, found wordless understanding. Then Elvis asked, do you like hearing me sing? David looked up, his eyes bright. I love, can't help falling in love the most. Every time I hear it, I think of my mom, and I feel warm inside. Elvis smiled, placing a gentle hand on David's shoulder. Then let me sing it for you. In the hush of that hospital room, Elvis' deep, wistful voice filled the air. It was a song not just for David, but for himself, a quiet reminder of love, hope, and the power of sharing light in our darkest moments. Elvis's voice lingered in the small hospital room, soft and full of longing. David closed his eyes, silent tears streaming down his cheeks. In that moment, the pain in his heart seemed to ease a little, soothed by the familiar melody that felt less like a famous song and more like a gentle lullaby from an older friend, someone who understood loneliness and loss. As Elvis sang the final notes, David quietly joined in, his young voice blending with Elvis's deep timbre. It was a magical moment, two generations, two souls, sharing pain and growing a fragile hope together. When the song ended, silence returned. Only the steady hum of machines and the soft glow of golden light spilling through the window remained. Elvis reached into his pocket and pulled out a white handkerchief embroidered with the word love. He gently placed it in David's hands. My mother gave me this handkerchief on a very sad night, and she told me, whenever you feel lost, hold this and remember that love is always watching over you. Tonight, I want you to have it because I believe you're strong enough to get through anything. David clutched the handkerchief to his chest, eyes shining with tears. I'll keep it forever. I promise. In that quiet, the distant church bells chimed. David looked out the window. The sky was growing dark, but a line of light still shimmered on the horizon. Elvis, do you think my mom can hear me? Elvis nodded gently. I'm sure she can. When you sing, when you love, your mother is always close, listening and proud of you. Without another word, Elvis stayed beside David, the two of them offering a silent prayer in the night. It was the prayer of souls who had touched the bottom of pain, but still chose to hope for a new day. In that stillness, David smiled softly for the first time, as if a hidden strength was awakening inside him. Out in the hallway, nurses passing by looked in quietly. They sensed something miraculous happening in that little room, a soul being healed. Through simple sharing and human kindness, Dawn slowly crept through the hospital window, a gentle light spilling across David's sleeping face. Elvis still sat there, leaning back in the chair, eyes closed, but not quite asleep, his hand resting lightly on David's. That rare moment of peace lingered until the early bustle of nurses signaled the start of a new day. David woke, blinking in the morning glow, then smiled when he saw Elvis still by his side. "I thought last night was just a dream." Elvis gave a soft smile. "So did I, David. But sometimes it's in our dreams that we find what's most real." Just then, Mrs. Smith, David's mother, entered the room. Her eyes were still red from a night of worry in the hallway. But when she saw her son clutching the white handkerchief, her face lit up with relief and gratitude. "David, are you all right?" David nodded, holding her hand tightly. "Mom, he dreamed Dad came back. You know." And Elvis sang with me. Elvis stood up quietly and bowed to Mrs. Smith. "This boy is stronger than any grown man I've ever met. Keep believing in miracles, Mom." Mrs. Smith thanked Elvis, tears welling up from emotion. She looked at her son, then at the musician, her heart full of gratitude. Before leaving, Elvis leaned down and whispered to David, "Whenever things get hard, remember the handkerchief and think of love. Keep singing because music will always save your soul." The door closed softly behind Elvis. In that small hospital room, David felt a new energy blooming hope. Outside, the first rays of morning shone through the window, as if marking the start of his recovery. He knew there would still be hardships ahead, but from that day on, David would never be alone again. In his heart, the presence of his mother, his late father, and Elvis Presley, the gentle visitor with sad eyes, but a warm heart, would forever be his source of strength. In the days that followed, David began his recovery, a small miracle unfolding quietly in everyday life. Each morning, his faint singing echoed through the hospital room, at first tentative, then gradually stronger. Though the pain lingered, David no longer retreated into silence or fear. The white handkerchief Elvis had given him remained at the head of his bed, a lucky charm carrying love and faith. Doctors and nurses noticed the change in David. He became more optimistic, even playful, encouraging other children in the ward. Whenever someone cried, David would remind them, "My mom says music is like magic. If you sing, the sadness fades away." And Elvis believes that too. News of the extraordinary meeting between Elvis Presley and young David spread through the hospital, then out into the community. The media began to report not only on the touching story, but also on the image of Elvis as humble and quiet, visiting sick children with no need for fanfare. Nurses shared memories of that night like hidden treasures, while many adults who once doubted the king of rock and roll were silenced by their idol's compassion. One afternoon, as the golden dawn shone outside the window, David bravely asked his mother if he could try standing for the first time since his surgery. Though his legs trembled, he smiled and reached for the sunlight. "I want to learn to walk again. I'll take my next step, just like Elvis told me." His mother, eyes brimming with tears, gently embraced him. She knew that the miracle wasn't just medical, but also born of love, music, and faith awakened after a single night. And so, that tiny hospital room became more than a place of physical healing. It became a sanctuary for the spirit, a place where hope and kindness planted the seeds for a new journey. On David's final night before leaving the hospital, an unexpected gift arrived from Memphis. It was a postcard with a carefully written message. Keep faith and music in your heart. Every time you sing, an Engel smiles. Elvis. David held the card with trembling hands, tears streaming down his cheeks. It wasn't just a material gift, it was an invisible source of strength that would keep him from ever giving up. No matter the hardships ahead, that night, neither David nor his mother could sleep. They recounted every moment, from the fear in the surgery room, to the instant Elvis appeared, to the songs that filled the dim light and soothed all pain. His mother whispered, "You know, there are miracles that come only once in a lifetime, but the true wonder is keeping it in your heart, so that every day is lived to the fullest." Outside the window, the Memphis stars sparkled. Somewhere in Graceland, Elvis too was restless all night, sitting by his piano. His fingers glided gently across the keys as he thought of the boy who had touched his heart. Elvis softly sang a wordless tune, sending hope and affection to David and to every soul carrying silent loss. The next morning, David was discharged. He walked slowly, his legs still weak, but his eyes shining bright. In his hand he clutched Elvis's postcard and the white handkerchief, two treasures that would accompany him on the long road ahead. That story closed, but its echo kept ringing in the hearts of those who witnessed the miracle, and in David's soul, the boy who found magic through kindness, music, and the gentle grasp of a king from days gone by. Sometimes, miracles don't arrive with thunder or dazzling lights, but in a quiet word of encouragement, a song, or the gentle touch of a hand. The story of David and Elvis isn't just the memory of a magical night in a hospital. It's a reminder that in this vast world, hearts willing to share can always bring hope to someone lost in the storm. If this story touched you, please help us spread it by sharing the video, subscribing to the channel, and pressing super. Thanks to supporters in bringing you more emotional, meaningful stories from behind the limelight. Thank you for listening, and may a small miracle find its way to you, just when you need it most.